Hello and welcome to the Two Ace Podcast, the podcast designed to help you manifest your Two Ace mindset. My name is Josh Brooks and my one focus is success through the art of discipline and flow. I hope you enjoy the episode. Now let's get right into it. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, and today I am joined by Derick Johnson. We're going to be talking about leadership, inspiration, and motivation today. So, hi, Derick. Would you just like to provide some context about who you are, why you're here, and what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, for sure, Josh. Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure being here. But yeah, so I was in the U.S. Army for 10 years and did a lot of leadership training. And in regards to that, I was also a personal trainer since I was about 15. So I've been a personal trainer for nearly 17 years now. I'm 34. And I always wanted to take the energy and the pain from the past of growing up in a crazy household of alcoholism, drugs, and all that, a lot of rage. And I learned how to flip that pain into fuel and then empower other people. So I've always tried to find inspiration in dark times and teach people how to do that as well. So no matter if it's relational, with their family, with vices, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is for them, guide them, push them, help them through it. So teaching people how to flip their pain into fuel so that way they don't feel like they're just a victim. They can come out victorious. So they're like, you know what? This happened for me, not to me. I'm not going to be stuck here of whatever I did or they did to you or vice versa. So teaching people how to overcome that because life is too short to be stuck in the past.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about being present and pursuing every day and pushing forwards, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
So you mentioned how you flip that pain into growth. How exactly do you do that?
Great question, man. So one of the first things I do with clients or even recommend to people in general is on your personal development journey, grab a sheet of paper and list out things that you can eliminate. So somebody could ask themselves, what could I get rid of that'll help me make more progress? Maybe it is cigarettes. Maybe it's the e-cigs. Maybe it's too much sugar, too much caffeine, Red Bulls, whatever that is. Start with what we eat and drink, and then pay attention to what you put into your mind. Do you just listen to sad music and breakup songs? And the person wonders why they're always sad and depressed. They're just listening to dark music. Two, it could be maybe they have lazy or negative people around them. They might be good people, but they're always complaining, always moaning, and not really doing any work. So really be aware of what we're eating, drinking, putting into our mind, what we look at on social media. And then once they start writing that out, they'll start to get clarity to say, you know what? I need to eliminate negative self-talk, procrastination, or I need to overcome this because I have this inner anger or hurt from my father, my mother, whatever that is. But just really take some time to write that out and ask themselves, what could I get rid of that will help me make more progress? So before they add into their routine or schedule or flip their schedule and change it, which is not sustainable, first get rid of some things. The last one would be going into our closet and seeing what clothes could we get rid of, throw away. Maybe they have an outfit they had during a breakup, during their best friend's funeral, like their darkest, lowest times. And every time they see that outfit in the closet, they just have that memory. So get rid of all that stuff, whether it's a chain, a t-shirt, whatever it is, and they'll be surprised how powerful it is. They feel a lot lighter. So my first recommendation is to eliminate things, get rid of those things, and then you'll see that we at least feel freer and lighter. And then they can start to really focus on the deeper things, their goals. But I always like to recommend the process of elimination.
Yeah, nice. That sort of really does free up the opportunity to thrive, doesn't it? And I've noticed in your bio, you teach people how to thrive and not just survive. So how do you differentiate like just surviving to thriving? How do you get there?
Great question. So it's more so to identify, is the person living the life that they want? So a lot of people right now, they're in school or they're working for a company that they don't even want to be part of. Mom thought it was the best. Dad said this is the safe route. Uncle, professor, society, the government, whoever, somebody they follow on social media, you need to go this path. And a lot of people in society, if they look at it, they say, you know what? Am I really living the life that I wanted? Or does somebody else want that for them? So I always challenge people to start with that and just be honest. So we're not beating ourselves up. We don't want to be angry or sad about it. We just want to look at it from the outside to say, am I on my path or am I on their path? Because sometimes people figure it out when they're 40 or 50. They're like, shit, I didn't even want any of this.
Yeah.
like the family, the job, the career, the apartment, the condo, the house, whatever it is. And they're like, dang, I agreed with him or her. And they just started to drift. Even if it looks good from the outside, internally, there's a lot of people that they're miserable. So every Friday and Saturday, they just get drunk to escape reality because they don't like their reality. But deep down, it's more so that they were scared to pursue what they wanted and they went the safe route, whatever that is for them. So I
Yeah.
would really ask themselves, are you living your path or somebody else's?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's important to make sure everything is aligned in the direction that you want to go. And for those people that aren't really sure of maybe their end goal or the direction that they want to go in, how would you or how do you sort of advise people on how to sort of discover who they are and what they actually want to do?
Great question. So I would recommend asking themselves 4 questions. Question one is, what am I naturally good at? What am I naturally good at? So what I mean by that is maybe people come to you for audio. If you got some nice headphones on, so maybe you're always the audio engineer guy. You always have the beats, the best speakers, best headphones. Are like, yo, he's the guy. Ask Josh how to do this. For me, it was always mindset and fitness. People would just ask me like, how are you always so calm? You're always so calm in stressful situations. And I would teach them with that. So for that person, most of their life, people have come to them for tips on something, whether it's hair, skin, how to train a dog, how to be a better parent, whatever it is for that person. What do people actually come to you for? Two, what are you naturally good at? And tying that in. So usually what we're good at, people come to us for advice. Three would be, how can I solve problems? Maybe they have a product, maybe they have a service, maybe they can help companies, whatever problems they can solve. And four is, how can they connect 1 through 3? So what am I good at? What do people come to me for? And what problems can I solve? If they write these things out, and number four is, how can I connect those? They might have some clarity to say, you know what? I should work for this kind of company, or I should start this business, or join my buddy and we start this route, whatever it is. But it's more so clarity. And then when they answer those 4 questions and write it out, they're pretty clear on what their passion is. So for many people are like, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know where I want to go. But if they ask themselves those 4 questions, I can help them a lot.
Yeah. And just before we hit record, you mentioned that you have a pretty rigorous morning routine. And if you're a listener of the podcast, you know that I'm an advocate for a morning routine. So would you like to just explain some more about your morning routine and how that does link in with those ways of thriving?
Yeah, for sure. So I like to think of the morning routine as us being in control. You're either reacting to everything and everyone or you're proacting. So today's Monday. I'm in South Florida, so it's 8:11 a.m. So I get up early, I feed my dog, I drink some water. While I drink my first glass of water, I close my eyes and I just show gratitude. I just think about everything I'm grateful for, the blessings, health, the good, the dark, the mistakes, just everything. And it just comes to me and I just say, thank you, God, for everything, no matter if it's dark, bad, whatever it is, but everything made us who we are. So my dog's eating, I'm drinking water, my eyes are closed, then I take her for a walk around the neighborhood. Then I come home, I get changed, and then I run to the gym and I just blast intense music. This morning it was Falling in Reverse and an NF. So I run to the gym, hit the weights, and then when I come back from the gym, I'll sit by the water for like 10 minutes. We live right here in South Florida, so I watch the sunrise if it's not raining that day. But mainly is 2 things: moving the body first and then opening the mind. So for some people, it might be meditation, prayer, journaling, writing in a diary, shadow work, whatever they want to do. If they choose one thing for the body, move it first, and then one thing for the mind. Because nowadays it's common for people to think that they need a 10-step morning routine. They'll listen to a 3 hour Dr. Huberman podcast and they think they need a biohack and think they need to buy all this crap. It's like, yo, you don't work out consistent. You don't spend enough time outside. Just keep it simple. And then they feel much better. So I like to just go back to the basics. Everybody can do those things. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, definitely. And sort of with having a morning routine, it must take some motivation or some level of discipline on the days that, it's raining outside or, you're not feeling too great. How do you overcome that?
So I like to think of the perspective. So I'm just going to be blunt. I ask myself, am I bitching and moaning or am I going to show up for other people? So we just got to be honest with ourselves and say people depend on us. I don't have kids, but I have clients, I have friends, I have an online community. So I just think somebody right now is struggling. So if they don't see my morning post, morning video, whatever it is, that they might need it. And it's not about going viral. It's just that one person's like, damn, this guy doesn't stop. I need to get up. Or wow,
Mm.
he's running again or working out. So it's more so to inspire people, not to show off like, oh, look at me waking up early. It's more so, hey, consistency equals the life that you want. And I'm just all about the basics, just consistent and to keep it very straightforward. But what I like to say on the moments that I don't feel like it is one of two things. One is people depend on me. I think about it and I say it. And I just get this rush to say, you know what? I don't feel like it or I want to hit snooze. So I just tell myself, I'll just be blunt, fuck my feelings. I need to go harder and I need to show up so I can empower other people. Two is sometimes you're mentally drained, you're stressed, you're depressed, you have anxiety. Like we're all human. We have mornings where we literally almost can't do anything. So in those moments, I think of what my grandparents and great grandparents went through. My mother's German. So I grew up in Germany as a child. So I'm half German, half African American. And so my Oma survived the Holocaust. She
Mm.
was hiding in the attic. So when I go to the present moment and I don't feel like waking up, I say, she survived the Holocaust. Am I really going to complain about an alarm clock and being tired or stressed? And I say, fuck no. And then I just go harder. And like I get chills and goosebumps thinking of that. I rarely have to do that nowadays, but in those moments where I really don't feel like it and don't want to, I think of the worst things. And I don't recommend people do that like every day, but it does help a lot to learn your family tree to realize what did your grandma, great grandpa, whoever it is, go through. Even if we're not close to that family or ever met them, if we learn our family history, we see that they went through some tough things. And so now society, like we stress about these small things and we forget our lineage, our family tree, they went through real stuff. Like most of us haven't really been through real stuff like back then. So number one is people depend on me, say that in my head or out loud. And then two, on rare cases, I'll think of my Oma or even wild things that happened to my dad's side of the family and what people survived. And then I come back to the moment and say, you know what? Because they went through hell, I exist. Let me reset and let's get back to it. So it's gratitude and action.
Yeah, wow, yeah, that's food for thought for sure. It's something that not only me, but I'm sure the audience will be thinking about a lot in times of, in times of when you're feeling a bit lazy. It's just like, today's society is full of distraction, and it can
Oh,
be
yeah.
quite easy to just sit there and be like, you know what, not today. But
Yeah.
with what you've just said, that's definitely going to inspire some people to think more about what they're doing. And have you always thought like this? It's interesting to
Yeah. I would
yeah.
say that it all shifted when I was 12 years old.
Mhm.
So both my parents grew up very poor and they became successful. So they were the oldest of multiple brothers and sisters. They also had cousins and everybody. So they were always the parent of their family while their mom was working.
Mhm.
So they had multiple kids in the house and they had to be the mom or dad while their mom was working. And so with that, they went right into working and go, 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 go. And so with that, they saw a lot of trauma, violence, drugs, and alcohol run on both sides of the family. And so they went hard on serving others in their career. So in their life, the only days of work they miss is if they were actually sick, like throwing up or couldn't get out of bed. But that was the only time. So naturally, as a kid, I saw them get up every day at 4 or 5 and work out 5, 6 days a week, every single day. No matter how drunk they were all night, they would still get up. And so long story short is they go from being poor to successful. So we had the beautiful house in Florida, 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, swimming pool, screened in, beautiful family. Our house was the cookout house or the party house. People would like come over all the time. They're like, oh, your parents are so awesome. Man, you guys are so loving. And some from the outside, it looked like this great American love family and blah, blah. But the second all the guests left after the party, the last bottle was drank, and that's when the violence started. That's when the rage came out. But it wasn't them in their personality. It was just something from the past that they didn't work through. Because since children, they just went hard in working. Like my dad's first job was at 11, and my mom was like 10 already working and doing stuff because they're the oldest, they had to. And so they have the work ethic, the intensity, and serving others, but they didn't really have time period to look within and get the therapy, the help, or all the resources they need. So because of that, alcohol became the outlet, but it never affected their career.
Hmm.
It was only like personal in the house, never affected anything else, and nobody knew. And so at 12, they started to drink a lot more. And that's when I was like, whoa, what the hell's going on? So from 10 p.m. to about 1 a.m., that's when it'd be just hours of yelling, broken glass, just all the stuff that people might relate to. And so with that, that first year, it was a shock because I'm the kid. I have good grades. I'm just playing sports. I'm like, why is this happening to me? And then like, I just didn't believe in faith. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe. I was like, why do bad things happen to good people? I was that teenager, just angry. I was like, man, this doesn't make sense. This is stupid. And then by the age of 14, something shifted. And then I told myself, I said, you know what? I'm tired of getting bullied by family at home. I'm also tired of getting bullied in school because as a child, I grew up in Germany and I was that skinny kid. I was insecure. I stuttered. And then once we moved to America, every European, before they moved to America, we actually watch American movies and TV shows and we wonder, is it really like that? The jock, the cheerleader, the bully, the fucking locker room, just all the stuff. And come to find out, 100% it's like that. So my first day in school, I was getting thrown in the locker, just getting beat up. My head was pushing the toilet and I was like, shit, what is going on? Like, because I just had that aura of I'm scared, I'm timid. I was just that kid that always looked afraid. And so if you look like that, then you're going to get bullied. And so from there, I just stood up for myself and I legitimately made a pact with myself. And I said, from here on out, nobody will ever have control of me again. Not my family, not bullies, not society. And so fitness became my step one into personal development. So I had to change my physique, not to just fight everybody, but I had to be confident within myself. So I got into martial arts. I picked up Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodybuilding book, encyclopedia, Bruce Lee. Like I got obsessed with all this stuff. And so fitness and music became my therapy. And then 2 years of transforming my body, people were like, yo, who are you? You're raising your hand in class. You're the leader of the basketball team. Like you've always been that quiet, shy kid. Now you're like just leading everybody, empowering, motivating people. And so I think it's because I just saw a lot of stuff, violence, physical, mental, emotional when you're young. So I had to grow up quick. And so now in hindsight, all of that was a blessing. And I don't wish those things on people to see violence or guns and dead body, like all that stuff. But in general, for some people, they just become a better person from that. So I knew that alcoholism runs in both families. And so I said, fitness is going to be my outlet and I'm going to empower other people. And I fell in love with that. So when I was a teenager, just people would just come up to me and just open up. And at first it was overwhelming. I'm like, why is my friend's mom like crying in my arms? Like, what is going on? And just strangers or people I knew would just come up. They're like, man, Derick, and they would just express their thoughts, their life and all that. And I'm 15, 16 years old. And then by 18, it clicked. And I said, you know what? I think this is why I'm here, to help people do those things. They can feel that I'm calm and maybe they relate. And I never told anybody what was happening at home, but they could just like sense that this guy's calm and he's not going to be stressed if I open up. And so it always inspired me. And so one of the biggest things was during those time periods, I got obsessed with learning people's comeback stories, whether it was movies, music, autobiographies, biographies. And I would just tell myself, he went through worse and got successful. I can too. She went through this and still survived. I can too. And I would just play this. And every day I would tell myself in my head, this is part of my comeback story. This is part of my comeback story. And I would like yell it like while I'm running. And so I would just like get myself into this headspace. And once I got into college, I was learning about psychology. And then I realized everything I did as a teen was shadow work, the prefrontal cortex, mental stimulation, like all this stuff, which I had no clue why I was doing it back then. I was just guided to do it. And I realized that some people, they just have a gift from the pain. And so I realized that my gift was discernment, being able to read the energy in a room or a person, meet them where they're at and slowly elevate it. And I just fell in love with that. So I just went all in and I said, you know what? I'm not going to allow my family to bully me. People, I need to elevate myself and I need to give myself back to others. So that's honestly what it was. I just fell in love with flipping the pain into fuel and saying, I'm not going to let this stop me.
Nice, yeah. Oh, that's a really good way of putting it. It was beautiful. You mentioned martial arts. I'm intrigued to hear more about that. How's that affected your life?
Yeah, for sure, man. So it honestly helped me the most with being calmer. So nowadays it's popular like UFC, MMA, tap out and all that. It's awesome. But real martial artists are like the most laid back, calmest people. They don't have to be out there like, oh, look at me, I'm tatted and blah, blah. And they don't have to act like that. They're just quiet, laid back, pretty positive people. But they actually went to a dojo. So they grew up, did all the forms and everything else. They weren't just fighting to fight. But in general, it just helped me with calmness and stillness. And so at the time I did Tang Sudo, which is in translated in Chinese called China Handway. So it's pretty similar to karate and kickboxing. It's a combination. But my sensei, he used to train with the Jun Ri, and Jun Ri was Bruce Lee's protege. And he in his dojo, he had all these pictures of him and Bruce Lee. And obviously, like I never met because he passed before I was born. But in general, it was just awesome to see. So in the dojo, you can just imagine there's a ton of trophies, pictures of Bruce Lee and my trainer, my sensei, and his best friend, and like real people teaching real stuff. So that energy was just empowering. But it was just all about the calmness and stillness. And so one of the favorite things about him was he knew something was happening at home, but he never asked me. He never asked me anything. He could just see it. And then on the days where he can tell that I just wanted to punch the punching bag and release emotions, like I wouldn't cry or any of that, but he could just tell. He could just see my body language. He was like, hey, go teach the kids class. And I was like, no, I want to go do that. He's like, no, go teach the kids class right now. And I was like, fuck. So I had to go teach the kids class every time I was like that. But I was able to see why he wanted me to do that. It's because it wasn't about my emotions. It wasn't about me. I needed to help these kids or these teenagers and teach them self-defense, or these women that got abused, and teach whoever I was teaching with self-defense. And I just got calm so quick. I got out of this and I served and helped them. And I was like, huh, this is interesting. Now the kid, he's calmer. The parents are like, how did you get my son to be that calm and focused? This lady can protect herself now. And then going back to me, I was like, wow, this is therapeutic. They feel better. I feel better. And then after that, I would hit the bag, but it wasn't because of emotional rage. It was just practice and training. And so martial arts, the most for myself was just the calmness and controlling your energy. And so the crazy home, 300 nights a year, just violence and violence. I would be up late working out, and then I'd go to school. But the rest of the time, I would just be calm and focused. But for myself, it was definitely mindfulness, mental control, and emotional control. And that's what really helped me, because I was used to the violence and screaming at home, and then martial arts was calm. And so I try to just keep the balance.
Yeah, it's all about balance, right? You said that like when you were 14, that this all sort of all took flight, and you got all these different experiences and learned these different things, and was practicing fitness, martial arts, all that. But if you could go back now to your 12-year-old self and say some advice, what would you say?
Great question. I would honestly tell them that everything that's happening right now is going to make sense. Just keep doing what you're doing and pushing. I didn't know everything back then, but I just felt something. I felt like I was pulled to something bigger. I like to use the analogy of there's two types of motivation. There's the push and the pull. The push, you push yourself out of bed on Monday. We don't feel like it. We're tired. We push to the gym. We push to make another sales call. We push, emails, texts, hustle, content, learning, studying, school. That's push. Sometimes we have to do that. But when you have a purpose that is bigger than you get pulled to it. For some people, maybe it's animals. Maybe they want to help animals. Maybe they want to help military veterans. Maybe they want to help former drug addicts because maybe one of their parents was and now they want to help. Whoever it is, for me, it was to help people that are broken and lost and that can't get to the next level. Like they just feel stuck in a box. I know how that feels. So I relate to them to an extent, and then I wanted to help empower them. So I just challenge people to see, what is your why and are you getting pulled to it? So going back to the moments I don't feel like it, I say people depend on me. So I envision people in like an arena and I'm speaking on stage and people have this rush of emotions because we're storytelling and empowering them. And then afterwards, like, hey man, I read your book or I saw your video or blah, blah, blah. You changed my life. I stopped drinking. I got back with my wife, blah, blah, whatever it is. But those moments give me a rush because all the pain made sense. So being able to show up better for others. And I also just want to say that doesn't mean just give yourself to everybody. We have to take care of us first. Sometimes people, they just give, and they neglect themselves. So just start with you first, because if you take care of your mind, your body, your faith, you'll be calmer, and then you can show up better. So I just want to preface that, because sometimes people, they're nice, but they don't take care of themselves. And those people, they burn out. So
Yeah. I've heard a quote that's, the world isn't as it is as you are. And it's basically like what you're saying, you've got to focus on yourself before you figure out what the world's like. And I like to think of the world as like full of keys to open doors of opportunities, which you can lead, down different paths through different areas of life. In your journey so far, have you found any keys in your mind, in your body, and, in the way you approach?
I would say, so with my experience in the military, and then also just the past things that I've seen and went through, I've always had this mentality of mission ready. So in the US Army, I did satellite communications. So in the Army, you have two jobs. You have your main job, and then you can do other things. So my other thing that I did was I was a master fitness trainer. And so I would get soldiers mission ready, mentally and physically prepared for deployment, or when they came back, or if they had an injury. So, for example, some people, they have an injury playing basketball, and next thing you know, he's addicted to painkillers because he had surgery, and now he really needs help. So a lot of these things are very common that people don't know is happening. So I would help all these people in the military, all these soldiers, and then I would have clients outside the military. And so the saying mission ready was always in my head, mission ready. So I was like, man, people need to be mission ready, ready for the battlefield of life, whether they're an athlete, whether they're a dad, a mother, whatever they are. Somebody's going to go through a battle right now, yesterday, tomorrow. It's going to happen. It's ebbs and flows. So I would just ask themselves, like, am I ready for these moments? So for some people, like, they didn't have the trauma. I don't wish that on anyone. Some people had loving parents. So here's an example. One of my best friends, his family was like the perfect American family. Massive house, Christians, loving mother. Just every time I went there, the energy was just relaxing. I'm like, dang, you guys have dinner together? You guys hug each other? Like, dang, I'm not used to that. Like, my house runs like a business. Like, yo, you got to get up. We got to do this. You got to do that. Hurry the fuck up. Like, blah, 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 blah. Everything is quick. And his family was just loving. And then internally, when we got about 18, I told him, I was like, hey, man, I'm worried for you. And he's like, why? And I said, it's been too easy for you. And we're about to go off to college. And he's like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, you'll see. And then lo and behold, years later, he was like, I get it. Because his dad really didn't make him like do the yard. Like, my dad always had me cutting the grass, doing the trees. Like, my mom's German, so I'm always cleaning the house. I'm always doing a lot of stuff. His parents did everything. His mom cleaned his room. His dad never made him go into the yard. Like, he was smart. He was a hardworking guy, good guy, but he never really had to work because his parents were rich. There's nothing wrong with parents being rich, but he didn't have to do anything extra. And so I was just worried about him. So once life started happening to him in college and just in reality, he was like, man, it makes sense. So things that he would stress about with work or school and all that, I would laugh at it and say, hey, that's why I was telling you, you need to go through some stuff. So I just like to challenge people. If you didn't grow up in a crazy household, you have to do self-inflicted adversity. That doesn't mean hurt yourself. It just means have more difficult workouts. So if you have a weighted vest or put on a backpack, put 10 kilos in there, 30 pounds, go for a hike, go for a walk, play some music, do something difficult physically that's different. If somebody always runs, they need to hit the weights. If they always hit the weights, go swimming, like do something that's different. And after that workout, their mind is just open. And then from there, they'll start to want to do more challenging things because, as you mentioned earlier, society is used to the quick fix. It's like the instant notifications, instant gratification, like everything's fast. So people don't have patience or discipline. So whoever is putting themselves in those difficult situations, they'll always accept the challenge of life better than somebody who's just going along and they're like, oh my God, this happened. And they're stressed about the smallest things because they never go through anything that is challenging or challenge themselves.
For sure. It's really interesting to see and hear you talk about sort of how you really empower like yourself and empower others through leadership as well. And you mentioned how, in the army, you were the go-to guy for leadership and mentality before people were going out into the field. So can you tell me more about leadership and particularly sort of when there's more than one leader in a room and how multiple leaders get on and how they can succeed?
Yeah, great question, man. It's honestly all about, can this leader, whether it's male or female, the best leaders, they can push their pride and ego out of the way. Because when they have too much pride, they have to like put on this image of, I'm the alpha male, like just overshadowing insecurities. But the best leaders, they can pause for a moment, they can ask people better questions, and from the outside, they know how to elevate the energy in the room, like in a positive way, not just to get them hyped up. That's easy to get people hyped up. But when somebody's really stressed, or the company is about to go out of business, or the team is going through depression because a coworker passed away, like when real life is happening, can the leader elevate the energy in the room? And that just starts with better questions. So, an example, if somebody works with a lot of male and female alphas in the room, and there's a lot of, what's the saying? Too many chiefs, not enough Indians, where everybody's trying to be the boss and they're like clashing heads and the team is just miserable. But with that is, it's all about the quality of the questions, asking people better questions. So an example could be, hey, what do you need from me that I can help you with? What does the company need? What does the team need? And they're genuinely asking that, like, do you need any help? How can I help? Or how can we help you? And so just opening that up with the team, they can see maybe there's an issue in the IT department or in this department, HR, or whatever company or business they're part of, or even like in the classroom, if it's a group project and they're like, hey, I know you're the smartest on the team. I don't want you to carry all the weight. What do you need me to do? Like, you need me to do the research? Because if we don't do anything, we're still going to get an A because of you, but I want to make sure we can help. So honestly, just asking better questions. And so that way everybody starts to get relaxed and stop trying to be Mr. and Miss Alpha and like try to overpower everybody. But the best leaders, they know how to step down for a moment, humble themselves, ask good questions, and then the whole team starts to elevate. So like team one, the leader's just yelling like a drill sergeant 24/7. It can work to an extent, but that's not good every day, because the team's going to hate their leader and then they're going to be like, fuck it. We're not going to do the work. So whatever. I don't like this guy or this lady. This team over here, they have a leader that they know how to turn on the fire, but they can also support the people. And then that team just keeps winning and growing. And they're like, wow, what's the difference? This team is miserable. This team's actually happy, and they look like a good squad. And that's why the leader actually cares, and they're not just over here just angry all the time.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was eloquently put, to say the least. It's I think it's really important, like literally, like you said, it's important to remove the ego from the situation when there's a lot of leaders in the room. And I'm aware that you got the Soldier of the Year award. Would you like to explain some more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So in the US Army, you don't have to go up to the board, but you can. So what that means is you can put in a packet to say that you want to compete for Soldier of the Year. So it consists of three things. There's physical tests, physical training, which involves running, push-ups, sit-ups, shooting, etc., drills, going through obstacle courses. So physical is one. Next is your leadership skills. So how does your team, how does your squad, your platoon, how are they? Are they getting empowered? Are they good? Because it's not just all about us. So you got the physical, the leadership, and the last is mental. But the catch is the mental is all the written tests and verbal tests. But you do it after no sleep, no food, dehydration. So then they test you. So it's not just like, oh, good morning, here's some coffee, let's take this test. It's not like college. So you go in there just loopy and all that, but it's designed to put you under stress, to then get you to take a test written, and then the verbal. The verbal is what most people struggle with. So you knock on a door, they call you in, you stand at attention, and there's a table that's like a half rectangle, just all the top leaders, and they're just sitting there. And you're standing, there's one chair in the middle, and so you got this half U around the chair. So you got to stand by the chair, and then they tell you when to sit down. And then they just go down the line and ask you questions about history, about whatever, and you got to answer right. Or you answer with confidence, even if it's wrong. So sometimes you got to be wrong strong. So if somebody's like, what's 2 + 2? They're like 6. But they say it with so much intensity and focus. They respect that soldier more than somebody that like just gives the wrong answer, shy, or the right answer shy. So it's more about your confidence and being honest. And if you don't have the answer, you could also say, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll get back to you. But it's all to see, how does he respond? How does she respond? That was my favorite. The reason why is because I'm so used to my 5'4" German mother being in my face like a fucking pit bull, like, And then my father, he's like 6'3", taller than me, just big ass black dude, like beating my ass. So I'm used to the intensity of my father and mother. So in those settings, I'm calm. And I'm like, yo, this is a walk in the park. Like my parents would take all of y'all out. And so it's pretty hilarious because those moments I would thrive and I would be laughing in my head because I was like, wow, it all made sense. Thanks, mom. Like you made this easy. And so going up to the board, I would just thrive in those situations because of my upbringing, but also more so to show the soldiers like, hey, sometimes we got to get outside the comfort zone. So I did it for two reasons. One, for my inner child, because he was shy, insecure, bullied, had a stuttering issue, was just this timid. He just had that aura of beat me up. I'm scared. I'm alone. I'm fearful. That was me. So I make him proud. And then two, I test myself to then empower other people where they're like, oh, wow, you went in that room with them? So yeah, you just got to show up and just being that walking example. So it was a good test, but that's what it consists of is the mental test, physical test, and also leadership. But on top of that is you're dehydrated, haven't slept in days and all that. So then you see what you're made of.
Yeah. Wow, that sounds pretty intense. I didn't realize it was like that. How do you build that? So for someone that doesn't have the context of growing up with that household, how would someone build the confidence and the mental resilience to, withstand that board, I guess?
Great question. So it all starts with ourselves. I always challenge people to do two things. Two of the basics are wake up at the exact same time every single day. That includes Saturday and Sunday. Because usually people wake up at a different time every day. 6, 7, 6:30, 7:15. They hit snooze 5 times and they're like, or they wake up at 5, but they lay in bed and scroll on TikTok and Instagram. And they scroll for an hour and watch motivational videos. Like I love David Goggins, Andy Frisella. I love all those guys, but some dudes, all they do is watch that and they don't like take action. So I challenge them to wake up at the same time and within 30 minutes, start working out. Like get up, hydrate, do whatever you got to do. Within 30 minutes, start working out. That could be a walk. That could be a run. They can choose whatever they want. And number two is to make sure you're training around the same time. So wake up at the same time, train around the same time, and your body and mind will be so used to it because it's like clockwork. So an example is whoever's the most consistent is always going to win long term. So here's what I like to think about. I could literally be blindfolded when I wake up. I can take my vitamins, drink my water, feed my dog, put my shoes on, do all the stuff, shave my face. I could do everything with my eyes closed because I'm not thinking, because I've done it so many times. And like I'll put my glass on the kitchen counter. I'll put the supplement, the pre-workout or the coffee if I need something. But it's more so to set yourself up for success rather than he hit snooze 5 times. Now he's stressed. Now he's late. Now he's like, oh, I can't work out. I don't have enough time. I got to train later. Then I have class and he's always reactionary. And now his stress is high. His cortisol is high. So the basics are those two things, wake up time and workout time. If somebody can just have that non-negotiable, they can have so much control of their life. And it sounds so simple and straightforward, but society now, they'd rather like just learn about the high level mentality and all this stuff. It's like, yo, you don't need to watch a 4-hour Jordan Peterson video. You just need to work out and be consistent. And once they elevated their confidence, then Jordan Peterson and all the stuff makes more sense because they have the confidence, they have the work ethic, they have the faith, their mind is open. They're like, oh, wow, this is all part of it. But if they rarely ever work out, they don't need to go deep into these topics. Like behind me, I have a lot of books. Unless somebody's super consistent already, the books won't really help them because they're just learning. The question is, are they taking action? So I would just start with those two things. Wake up at the same time every day, work out around the same time. Not every workout has to be beast mode and super intense. Some workouts you can just go for a walk. But in general, it's just more about consistency. Because if somebody does that for 30, 40, 50 days straight, they're just like, wow, I'm in the zone. And that's where they really start to see what they're capable of. And at that point, then finances go up, leadership goes up because they trust themselves. The reason people lack confidence is they don't trust themselves. It's because they don't show up for themselves. So they might suck at sales. They're not good with women, or women aren't good with guys. They're not good at making content. They don't want to speak on video on social media, all these things. It's all about how they feel about themselves. So they're like, oh, it's not the right time. Oh, I need to take another course. So I don't have a Canon camera. I just got the iPhone. And they'll make every excuse. All they're saying is, I'm too nervous to get on camera. Nobody's going to listen to me. And so To flip it is to just show up for yourself and to say, you know what, as long as you show up confident, it doesn't matter how you look. People can feel when somebody like lives what they say. And that's my favorite thing. People to just show up. Like the last example of this, there's a few old people in my gym, not old people, just older gentlemen and older women in my gym, and I respect them. They're like 70 to 80 years old, just going hard. And then there's the heavy set guy, but he's there every single morning at 5 a.m., just on the treadmill, dripping sweat. And I respect him more than the TikTok boys who are over here making videos and that are laughing at this dude. And I'm like, yo, he's consistent. He's sweating. These guys are just taking selfies, hanging out. I respect him, not these dudes over here, because he's in the zone. No matter if his body's not like them, it's not about that. It's about the consistency. So long term, the guy that's alone sweating on the treadmill is going to dominate the other dude long term because he's in that zone. The other ones, they're just there for clickbait or for attention. So it's just all about perspective.
It is all about perspective, and I love your simplicity is key approach. It's really, really important, I think, for people to understand that. I'm interested to hear what inspires you.
Great question. So honestly, it's to see how we can hit our potential. I love getting the text from clients, friends, or even like online community. Hey, I just dropped 10 pounds. Hey, I just closed another deal. Hey, I just gave up drinking. Hey, it's been 20 days and I haven't smoked a cigarette, or whatever their vice is. But honestly, just seeing that light go off in somebody's mind or in their eyes when they see what they're capable of. And then they think, damn, I've been living small for 10 years, or I've been in this shitty relationship for 3 years and they're scared to leave, whatever their situation is. But once somebody has that clarity to say, I deserve more, I deserve more, and they just start getting excited. And no drink did that, no pre-workout, no drugs, no alcohol, like nobody else did it. They did it because they showed up. That's my favorite thing to see, because that's all people need is just consistency. So then they trust themselves. So I'm not the one that gets them to the goal. I just guide them, give them the tools to support. If they need the wake up call, I'm going to call them like, yo, get your ass up. But in general, as long as they show up, they do their part. So what inspires me is hitting my own potential, passing that potential, but teaching others how to do the same thing, because life is short. And so the term legacy just gets thrown around too much because it's just clickbait. We look at all the Instagram memes, but who's actually hustling? The people that are actually doing the work, they rarely have to talk about that stuff because they just show up. The other ones, they just watch this content galore. There's so many men and women that just watch this. It's like a dopamine hit. I call it motivational porn. They just watch motivation all the time. I'm like, yo, why are you watching another dude work out for an hour on YouTube? Like, go work out. If you're going to learn from whoever it is. That's awesome. I respect the dude for making the video, but take action on what he taught. So we don't need to watch more videos, read more books. It's more so, how long have you been consistent? So today's September 23rd. Were they consistent these 23 days, or did they just consume? So I just challenge people to create more and consume less.
Lovely. And just to wrap it up, what is your definition of success?
Definition of success is living life on your terms. When you are like, I am the one that overcame everything. You're that leader. You're the superhero in your family, and you're not just talking about it. You can go do what you want when you want. You're empowering other people, but you're a walking billboard. Too many people are a walking contradiction. They speak motivational, but you look at their life, it doesn't match what they say. So I just challenge people to say, are you living what you preach? Even if you're struggling right now, you could still get through it. So get crystal clear on who is the person you want to become, what is the life you want, the finances, the body, the experiences, the traveling, the family. Do you want kids? Do you not want kids? Do you want a penthouse in Miami, or do you want to live in the country and have horses? Like, get crystal clear on that. And your version of success is not right or wrong. It's all about what you want. So I just want to remind people, get clear on what you want, because a lot of you are living a life that somebody else wants for you. And you're going to be miserable in 10 years saying, shit, I should have went this route. So here's a reminder, get clear on what you want and let's take action.
Great. Thank you for today. It's been great. Yeah, it's been awesome. Covered some lovely content. Yeah, have a good day.
All right. Appreciate it, Josh. Thank you.